Sometimes it's just so hard to start a video, especially this one. Hey, how's it going? It's been a long time since I posted a video. This is kind of my throwaway channel. I do love posting here because of that, because it's like, this is kind of a space that's, you know, not a lot of people know about. Some of my close friends know about it. It's just kind of me voicing into the wilds. Yeah, so it can be a little easier to say stuff that I wouldn't say to my family and my, you know, everyone I grew up with and everyone I know. So, that's why I have this channel. That's a big part of why I have this channel. Is whenever I just want to fixate on something that's really, important to me, but it might not be, you know, I don't know, interesting or whatever to other people. So on that topic, if you've clicked this video, you obviously know what's happening. But yeah, I'm kind of working up the courage to come out publicly to everyone in my life. And I'm 28, so it's like, that's, you know, feels like something that should have already happened. But I haven't been able to do that yet. I've done it like slowly. It's weird. Guys, I never thought I'd be doing this. And I'll give you a little timeline, I think. I always kind of was like, well, I'm probably, like, I know these things for myself, and I can just keep them there, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be like this big public thing. I think the way that everything's been going politically, I think, specifically just with like the suicide hotline being shut down, July 17th is when it's going to be shut down. So like midway through Pride is when that was announced. And it's like, regardless of any political opinion you could have, shutting down a suicide hotline for LGBTQ+ people in the middle of that month is atrocious. It's atrocious. It's just so many layers and levels of horrible. Just blatant unkindness to this community, and aggressively unkind to these people. And so that has kind of, I feel, forced my hand. Obviously not forced as far as, like, it still is my choice to come out publicly. But that kind of, it made me realize, I was like, I don't want to just keep this separate thing, because there's a lot of people in my life. I grew up very conservative, in a religious household. That it wasn't negative. I had a very blessed childhood, and I can say that genuinely. I had a very blessed childhood. But the part of it that was very complicated and not blessed was the fact that I knew I had attraction for boys from a very early age. It was very, I don't know, like, it started with, I would have like dreams, and I was like, whoa, where is that coming from? And there wasn't an outside influence doing that. And yeah, but I had crushes on girls when I was a little kid, and then that kind of like didn't happen for a while, and then it did. And like, you know, my best friend that was a girl, I was kind of like had crushes on her for a while, and then I had crushes on my other best friend, my boy best friend. So basically, I guess I haven't come out yet. I am bisexual, and before you roll your eyes and click away, it's something I've really learned, that like, it's hard to be a bisexual person in the LGBT community, because I'm not in a straight marriage. I'm not, because I'm bisexual, but I'm in a appearingly heteronormative marriage, and that is, oh man, so many different just like layers of opinions that people have about, because you have the one side that's saying like, well, you're married, so like, you don't ever have to think about any of those things ever again, because you're happily married to a woman. And then the other side is like, you're lying to yourself, and you're actually gay, and you're lying to yourself, your wife has a beard, all that. And I'm here like, okay, I kind of thought I was just gay for a long time. That was primarily like where I thought I was. Okay, so that's where I thought I was. I fell in love with my wife. And I fell in love harder than I fell in love with any other people, boys or girls, you know? It was the movie romance. It was, like, overwhelming. I mean, our first date, I sat down and was like, why is this my wife? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm not going to get into the whole story of how that happened. But it definitely was not me trying to hide who I really was. And I'm looking back now, and I've begun to kind of process what growing up bisexual has looked like. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Just in my life, throughout my history, there's been so many changes. Also, like, my throat is shot. I had a wedding last night, and we were yelling and dancing for the whole time. So I'm a little today. But yeah, so growing up bisexual, like, it was so strange because it felt for a long time like all of my sexual desires kind of were towards men. And then there was this, like, romantic desire that was towards women. And romantic as far as, like those things were kind of split for me. They were kind of split for me. And I didn't really want the romance with the guys. I didn't really want, like, relationship and care and, like, all those things, you know? I really just wanted to fuck them. That was kind of what it was. And that's changed. Like, that's changed over the years. And I feel very much in the middle of all those things now. I feel very much like that's kind of where I'm at. Because I think there was just this unhealthy fixation coupled with the pressures and everything. But I always, like, I would draw so much, like, fan art of Link and Zelda. Just, like, you know, like, spinning around and kissing and hugging, and I was, like, so into them as a, like, couple. And there are so many different things like that. And yeah, and I mean, like, you know, like, things weren't, I don't know, that my interest in girls was not a beard. It was maybe a little bit, as far as, like, I wasn't being as honest with the guy stuff. Like, I had a picture of Ashley Tisdale, who was my first, like, celebrity crush, on my wall. I didn't have a picture of Zac Efron, right? So it's like, I definitely, but looking back, I'm like, both of those were genuine. Those were both people that I felt a certain way about. And it's, even now, like, even as I'm recording this, it's really hard not to, like, think about what the comments are going to say, because it's just, like, people have such strong opinions. This is such an intimate issue, and such an issue that just is, like, very, it triggers a lot of people. Like, I recognize the fact that, like, me being in a straight passing relationship, it's very triggering for people, because there's a lot of parents of LGBT people where I'm a best case scenario, and they look to me and they're like, hey, why can't you be like Nathan? Because I am, you know, like, someone who processed that, and everyone was worried about me. Everyone in my life was, like, worried that I was going to be gay, and then, oh, I wasn't. And so it's like, that people look at that, people on the very conservative side of things look at that, and they see that as, like, aspirational for their children. And that's very difficult. For me, that's very difficult, because that's not something I believe. I don't think that I'm the pattern, or that my life is what you should have. I think it's what I should have, because it's what my life is. It's what has transpired. Yeah, and so as I've processed this, I realized just this past month. So a lot of stuff has happened this month. I kind of accidentally came out as bisexual to my parents. It didn't go horribly. It didn't go well at all. It did go pretty horribly, but not horrible as far as many coming out stories I know. They had known it as a struggle with homosexuality. That was how it had been presented. They didn't know it as, like, something I'm not actively fighting, right? That's the only change, and they did not take it well. And it took a lot of conversation to get them to the point of just being like, hey, this word describes my life experience. I would be very dishonest if I was to, in any way, seem to tell anybody that I was straight. That would be dishonest to me, because it's just not the reality. There's been times of my life where I felt straight. There have been, you know. There have been times of my life where I felt gay. There's been times of my life where I felt asexual. You know, like, every aspect of sexuality, like, I feel like I have felt on some level. on some degree. It could be a minor degree. And the reason why bisexual is the title that I have chosen to like accept, and the one that makes the most sense to me, is because the gay and the straight seem to be the most common. That seems to be, out of everything, that seems to be where I tend to feel the most comfortable. Like, it's like, yeah, I like guys and girls, and that's, yeah. And again, it's interesting having that when you're in a marriage. It just is, oh man. And part of the reason I want to come out is because it's like I do seem very gay to a lot of people, and there's been multiple people that have come to my wife and been like, hey, I think your husband's gay. As if we like didn't talk about this on our first date, as if this hasn't been something that we have like constantly, like is an aware conversation that we're both not like, ooh, this scary thing we don't talk about. It's like, no, we're entirely open about that. We're not open, like we're a monogamous relationship. We're not in an open relationship, which I think is important to say as well. And I want to say that because I think that's another wrinkle that's really difficult for people to understand, and I really understand that, especially for older people. It's just hard to understand why I would come forward with bisexuality. What am I doing? Look, it's like a pen, and I'm just putting the eraser on it, because listen to that. Wait. Oh, it didn't do it. It's too much pressure. Okay. Yeah. Oh. I just dumped a bunch of apricots on the ground, and I will be cleaning them up later because of the pen. That's why that happened. Anyways, but yeah, so yeah, okay, I lost the point. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm gonna check. I'm gonna start a new video. Yeah, it's difficult for people to understand why you would come out as bisexual, why you would want to come out as bisexual when you're not in an open marriage. My dad literally told me that. He was like, well, don't you think like a bunch of like men are just gonna try to get with you? And I had to be like, Dad, I need you to know there's already a bunch of men that are trying to get with me. Like like what me being the idea that I could be a closeted gay man who isn't open, isn't willing to come out or whatever, and is like, in this unfulfilling marriage, and like that they could easily manipulate into sleeping with them. Like, I get a lot of those guys, right? Like, that's a common thing. And so I had to be like, that's happening. And actually, if I am able to say, like, I'm bisexual and not in an open relationship, that's easier. That's actually just, like, I can quickly say that to someone, and it's fine. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, because it's just... Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a very nuanced place to be, and it's not an easy place to be. And I think it not being easy is what makes people afraid, and makes people like, oh, we should just be in an open relationship. Oh, we should. And obviously, like, my wife and I have discussed that. We've talked about, is that something that we want to do? And it would not be aligned with my views on marriage, personally. At least in our marriage. I know everybody's relationship is different, but I still was like, let's really assess that. And we both came to the conclusion, I don't think that's the right path for us. And because at the end of the day, all that's missing, right, from my life is like a certain level of sensual experience. That's really it. I have had relationships with men, I've had relationships with women, and there's nothing like missing, and it's like, if I felt like there was, then maybe that would be a different conversation. But I think it's important to say that when you're talking about being a bisexual person in a straight passing marriage, it just... Yeah, it's there is this assumption, and I mean, we get it all the time. We got it last night, where like we went to a wedding, and we saw this guy that had earrings and kind of swoopy hair, and I the whole night was like, this guy's checking me out. This guy's looking at me, and we're on the drive home, and Abigail is like, that guy was checking me out, and I was like, you're kidding me. And it happens very frequently now, where like people kind of perceive that I seem more bisexual, and my wife and I are both very free-spirited people, and so I think people are attracted to that, and it's just very frequent if we go anywhere that people like kind of just assume that we're in an open relationship. And again, some people are, and it's okay, and it's like you need to figure out what's gonna preserve your relationship if that's what you want to do, you know? And for us, it's like, yeah, we're fulfilled by each other, and we're in love with each other, and we don't, it's like, we're very aware that, like, that is not a thing that would, like, save or help, or, I don't know. Anyways, I'm going into detail with this because it's just, like, it's such a difficult thing for people. It's such a difficult thing for people to grasp. It's like, why be bisexual? Why say, you know, and I, it's like, just to reiterate, like, because that's how I am. Like, that's not, you know, that's not it doesn't mean I can be something and not have to act on that thing all of the time, right? Like, I don't, just because I identify a certain way doesn't mean now, okay, but me being bisexual means I'm going and having orgies all the time, right? That's not what that means. Mainly what it means is my wife and I both go, when Jonathan Bailey is on a screen ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what happens. Like with Wicked, we were actually on separate sides of the country when we both saw Wicked with our friends, and she texted me before and was just like, watch out, because Fierro, Jonathan Bailey, and then I watched it, and all of my friends, we were like, oh my god. And, like, that's what it is most of the time, right? And I recognize that that's hard to, like, understand. But it's just, like, it is what it is, you know? It's not... yeah, it's like every relationship is unique, and you have to be open and honest with your partner, with what you're comfortable with and what you're not. And so for both of us, it's like, yeah, like, kind of swooning over Jonathan Bailey is not something that makes us, like, super jealous or super, you know, feel like there's any, you know, so that's, like, fine. If I was to go and, like, have a relationship with a man, you know, that would not be fine. Like, and it wouldn't be, and I wouldn't want to, because she's my primary relationship that I am, like, connected to on a level that I could never be connected to anybody else. That's how it feels. It's like she has made me more, and we were talking about this last night, like, she has made me more myself than anybody else in my life. There's no one else that has, like, so the only reason I'm even processing any of this, I think I probably would have remained a closeted bisexual person for the rest of my life, probably, had I not married Abigail, had I not found someone that just in every area of life was encouraging me to be myself. And I think vice versa. We both make each other the truest versions of ourselves. And that is a bond I couldn't find with anyone else, right? And, like, and I have, like, okay, so, like, my best friend is pansexual, and Jono, like, we don't have any, you know, sexual feelings for each other. We have a very close bond. It's like, he's my twin brother. I'm so thankful for him, you know. And I know that people would look at that relationship and be like, ooh, is something going on there? And it's and that's the thing. That's what, like, living bisexual is like, is it's like, no, like, there's not. But also, he's my friend and I love him and I just care about him. And, like, what bisexual does for me is it allows me to be like, even though obviously sexual is in the name, but it's like, okay, you're, not you personally, but, like, you, culture, it's like, you're probably gonna think that I'm bisexual or something's going on anyways. If you see these relationships, if you see the media that I like, if you see the way that I interact with people, you know, if you see the fact that, like, if it comes down to, like, a bridesmaid's party with the girlies getting wine drunk and watching Princess Diaries versus fishing, waking up at 4 a.m. and fishing, I'm choosing the previous. I'm choosing Princess Diaries. Please, God. You know, and so it's like people see all those things, and to me, that's just who I am. I don't think that needs to indicate that you're bisexual or not. I think all of those things can just be what they are. I think gender roles in general are obviously so rigid in America. It's insane. It's insane how rigid they are. But because of that, because of the way that that is, having a title like bisexual helps to just be like, okay, if you want to think that of me, there it is. You're not incorrect. Incorrect? Incorrect. I literally corrected myself and then didn't, and it's funny because the word's correct. But it's like, that's what it is, right? Okay, like, you're right. Like, I am all those things and I have attraction for men, right? Like, that's true. And it allows me to kind of be, or it has previously, and currently allowed me to just be more myself without feeling this inferiority complex. When I'm around super straight men, there's a lot of times that super straight men, I feel like I've been in situations where it feels like they're kind of trying to like super macho conservative men, right? Where like they see me and they're kind of like, there's this like mode of like, why does she like him? Because my wife's hot. Like I have a really good looking wife. And like, there's times where I feel like their energy is like, why would you want someone who's so like feminine? And that's like genuinely thought. So it's like being bisexual, and I can feel insecure in those moments. I can feel like I have to kind of like masculine myself up a little bit. And just accepting the fact that I feel this way and that I am these things really, really helps me to just not worry about it and just be like, yeah, whatever, you know. And the more honest I am, the more open I am about it, just like it feels like I can accept that a lot. Like at the wedding last night, it was really helpful. Like we were just talking about certain isms that I have, and my wife was like, and we we're all talking, and my wife was like, and your parents didn't think you were bi, probably, you know. And everybody laughed, and it was like this thing where it was like, yeah, and it was cool because I was in a group of people and everyone, like, we were all talking about, and that's the thing, I've always been pretty open about it. I've never been like, keep it secret, hidden, you know, like, even for my parents, it was like not this big thing. That's why I was so surprised by their reaction, because they really responded very negatively. They really responded very like, oh, extreme. It was like, I got a whole message of how worried they were for me and everything, and I was very surprised because I just was like, nothing's changed. Nothing's really changed. I'm not saying struggle anymore. And I think maybe the reason was, and this is a good part to segue to, was that previously, it had happened that a lot of my sexual desires for men went away when I was in like a stable community of like male friendships. And that was taken away. And I would be lying to you if I said that there wasn't a direct correlation there. And it was aggressive to the point where like I'd had no sex dreams about men for like maybe a year. And then I moved away and I suddenly had like a big gay orgy dream with a bunch of people I was never attracted to sexually at all, you know? And it was just like, what the hell is happening? So I have to recognize that that's a part of it. For you, I want you to know that doesn't have to change anything for you. If there are reasons, because that's a big part of my life, a big part of my journey, a big part of just what I feel I need to talk about is like, there could be reasons. We all are in relationships for different reasons. Some of them are healthy and some of them are not healthy. And that's okay. And you can let that be. It doesn't have to change the person that you are. So, in that same way, I am bisexual. But also, I recognize that those desires do tend to go down when I am... Like, for instance, my best friend is moving close to us this weekend. I've never lived near him before. We've, like, I think we counted, we've had, like, 5 months of, like, off and on, like, we've just been in each other's space, but it's never been a consistent, like, you know, we're, like, right down the couple doors from each other. So I expect that I will probably feel a lot less bi while he's here, you know? And it's true, it's just, like, there's a relational need that's met, but that's not consistent. That was consistent for a time. And I think that's where my parents got that, was there was a time where it was like, oh wow, no, I feel entirely straight. And I kind of just assumed that something had really shifted and that was kind of the way it was going to be for the rest of my life. And like maybe it would if I was in a more stable relationship with all these friendships. But the reality is it hasn't, and I don't know if it ever will be. I don't know if I will ever be in that space again. And when I have been more presently, it hasn't really changed too much. And either way, it doesn't change the past. Either way, it doesn't change the fact that if we canonically look at the story of my life, it's a bisexual story. A lot of the characters I write in my writing are on some level bisexual. And it's just a part of my life. And the community, like, I've just recently been coming out to, I'm, again, working out towards coming out publicly to everyone, but, like, I've been coming out to some friends from high school that were part of the LGBT community that I was, like, a part of, but I wasn't, and I wasn't able to even say it to anyone in high school. So I've just been telling them, like, hey, thanks so much, because so many of them were so kind. They never tried to out me. We would have conversations about this, and, like, they were so, like, there were people that tried to out me. There were people that would just be like, hey, are you gay? Like, in front of everyone. And I would be like, no. And now I look back and I'm like, oh, praise God, I wasn't lying. Like, it was like, I wasn't, like, I didn't know what to do. Now, looking back, it's like, yeah, if I just been like, I'm bisexual, you know, like, that would have been so much easier. But yeah, it's been really rewarding to come out to them and just the realization that they were so kind and understanding to the fact that I wasn't ready to have these conversations, and yet I was not. I was a little alienated. I did feel alienated. I feel alienated in a lot of groups, and I think that's another part of bisexuality that I do want to talk about, actually, is you do feel very alienated from a lot of groups. And I saw this, there was this podcast, Give It To Me By, that was the podcast. I really enjoyed their podcast. I've only watched like a couple episodes, so don't attack me if the rest of them are bad, you know, but I was watching one where they were talking about because they're both, I believe, in relationships with, well, at least one of them I know is in a relationship with a woman, like they're married and they have kids and they've been married for years. And something they were talking about was the fact that, like, and this is not a pity party, this is not like, it's hard for me to, like, say this in a way that doesn't make me feel like I'm trying to be like, oh, it's so much worse for me. It's not. It's worse for everybody. Every unique individual experience is worse in some way. Coming out as gay to your family is worse for a lot of people than coming out as bi, right? It just is, because at the end of the day, their families have to accept the fact that that person is going to be in a relationship with someone of the same gender. That is its own thing. The thing that I feel is very difficult and worse about being bisexual is that you really, and this is the way they put it, was like, you experience homophobia from a lot of people, and then you also experience, like, heterophobia from the gay community. And I've been called, like, not really gay. I've been called, like, there's been so many, been said, there's many gay men that flirt with me as if I am just gay, that they just want, you know, there's been a lot of people that have said that. I've had kind of, like, therapist one time that was just like, you're just gay, right? Like, and I was like, you know, so it's like, you feel the phobias from both sides, and it can be very isolating. And of course, there's a lot of areas I feel that way in, as far as just not feeling connected, super connected to two different groups of people. Yeah, and I think part of being bi is just accepting that. It's just accepting that, like, you're never going to feel fully contented in those things, because there are these, like, strong identities that people have that are very entrenched. And being bisexual is just kind of like, you don't have that. That's not really what, it's something you can really do, you know? And I don't know, it's just, it's so interesting. And I think especially, and this is something I'll get into probably in other videos, just religiously, religiously, like, I'm a very spiritual person. I would still consider myself a Christian to some level. I can't even say to some level. We'll get into it. There's so much nuance, it's hard to even talk about. And that's what I'm talking about, is hyper not aligning myself with these people over here that are ridiculously obsessed with hatred and correction and their version of correction, of correcting people's behaviors, even when they don't believe anything like they believe. So it's like, I'm going as far as I can away from those people, the people that are only upset with wokeness, right? I will never be accepted by the Christian community fully because of my bisexuality. Granted, all my close friends are on some level religious and or spiritual, and most of them are bisexual as well. So it's like, I have a community. I'm fine. Like, I truly am very grateful, like, so grateful for all those people in my life. Not a luxury a lot of people have. That's why suicide hotlines need to be not defunded. So I will never fully fit there because of this thing, because they're not going to be able to relate. They're not going to understand. There's just so many people that it's going to be a difficult thing. And then over here on the other side, there's a lot of religious trauma. And if I bring up anything religious, it's often met with a lot of intense fear responses. I've had those conversations as well. And there's people that don't want to have those conversations. And there is, I'd say, a bigger percentage of the LGBT community that's more atheistic, or spiritual, that's not tied to a specific religion, right? And so, because of my experiences, because I've had a lot of religious experiences that I can't explain outside of these contexts, miraculous healing and stuff like that. Because of that, I can't really fully feel like I'm fully in there, right? And other things, like there's the hypersexuality sometimes can happen. I can get kind of put off by that. And again, like, neither of those, like, I don't have to judge either of those sides. I don't have to sit over here and be like, you are wrong and evil for the way that your assless chaps that you're wearing at Pride, right? Because for a lot of people, it's like, you need to just, like, do something really overt to really get this thing, like, to prove to yourself that you're not going to die if you do that thing. Like, I've done that. So, like, there's been so much of my life, it's exposure therapy, right? Like, so much of my life is exposure therapy. This is exposure therapy, right? Like, literally exposing myself to a bunch of people. Whoa. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to title this video, Exposing Myself to a Bunch of People. But no, I've had to do, like, you know, I've done some homoerotic art that, you know, and writing gay characters in my books, like, not being afraid to write sex scenes, like, stuff like that. It's like, there's been so many things that I've had to do that are so much more overt that this side obviously would never understand. And it really helps you to be like, oh, wow, that is not a big, terrifying, scary thing. So it's like, I understand that, but there is, like, a level of it sometimes where I'm, like, talking with gay people and it's like, okay, like, we can only talk about cum. Like, it's like, whoa, you know, and so there's a part that often I have felt I'm not kind of included in, because there are a lot of ways where sexually I'm a lot more conservative and a lot more, you know, and I don't have to live in judgment, but that means I do feel that feeling of just not being as hyper connected to that group as many do. And operating in this kind of in-between state, it can be really difficult, especially if you don't have community. And that's a big part of why I'm doing this video, is just to say, like, you have community, and you have people that feel the same way that you do. I do hope that this video, like, gets to some people's algorithms. I really do. I don't hope that, I'm not trying to get viral or anything, but this has been such a nuanced thing for me to understand. And I'm so thankful that I'm coming to these understandings of, like, it is okay to be in the in-between place. I don't have to choose a side, right? I do have to choose a side as far as, like, I'm a part of the LGBT community, and they are, right now, experiencing oppression. Like, I mean, when you have the President of the United States posting an article in which the thumbnail is a pink triangle, and it's with an X through it, and it says, like, and I don't even think it was positive towards him, but he posted it on his personal X account, and, like, it's like he's posting that, and it was about, like, gay people in the military, and it's like, when you have something like that, that's horrifying. Like, that is genuinely very scary, you know? And so in that space, I believe it's very important, and I feel like I need to associate more with this side and really stand up for them and say, like, hey, allow people to live, because, and I would think the conservative side would agree with this as well, God's intention with people is not for them to be robots, otherwise there would not have been an apple in the garden, right? It's like, the through line doesn't make sense. It's like, free will is a basis. Obviously people argue, but it's like, free will is a basis for humanity. So, like, you need to allow, it's more important that you allow these people to have their free will than for them to believe what you believe. So there's times, you know, where that kind of happens. And then there's the opposite happens as well, where there's times where, like, I'm talking to people and I see them on this side, and I'm like, oh boy, like, some Christian morals would really help you just forgive people and to, like, love them, and really, like, it would help you to see that, like, you can be kind of, like, freed from a lot of your feelings of hurt and wounding, and, like, so there's plenty of things that I would also, and that's just, again, so nuanced, so in the middle, and to me, so that's why, like, bisexual is a really helpful place for me to be right now, you know, because it just is how I feel in so many areas, and I don't foresee ever being able to feel 100% comfortable in any community, right? Even with a lot of bisexuals, I'm not overly comfortable. I have been and I have not been. There was this one cafe I went to, Both Ways Cafe, right outside of Seattle, and I walked in and I was like, oh my God. I was like, no one's trying to flirt with me. No one's just assuming that I want them, but everyone's bisexual. And it was such a good time. I had such a good time at this little cafe. So it's like, I have felt very at home with that community, and of course most of my friends are bisexual to some level. And yeah, and I just think it's important to know that, like, the in-between space is very difficult to be in. There's a cognitive dissonance that is just hard. It's just not easy, especially today, especially in a climate where it is like you are either on this side or this side, and that in your identity is tied to those things. Yeah, so I just wanted to give encouragement and share some of my story in that vein, because it's just so, I'm learning so much about it. I'm learning so much just, like, how to really be and just be and live in the moment, and realize that, like, I can do that. I can live in the moment. I can live separated from all of these people who are going to say gay, straight, gay, straight, gay, straight. And it sounds cheesy for me to even say that, but that is the reality. That is something I have faced so consistently throughout my life. And I want to start being more open about it. So this is me being more open about it. If no one watches this, I still was open about it, and there it is. Love you. Love you. Hope you're doing well. Know that if you have agreed with all of this, great. If you've agreed with some of this, great. If you've agreed with none of it, great. Like, I'm glad to be a person you can talk to, and obviously, I mean, it's parasocial relationships, so, like, we're not talking, but get in the comments if you want to, and, like, share your stories, and I hope you feel seen or uplifted or cared for in some way by this, because it's scary. It's a big, scary world out there, and this is an area of culture that, like, has not been discussed to the level that it's being discussed right now. It's really the issue. It's really a big part of what we're all experiencing. Like, there obviously, gay has existed throughout history. Bisexuality has existed throughout history. Trans people have existed throughout history, you know. But right now, is the time when it is the conversation. Like, it really just is. To an extent that I, in all my research, have never found that it was this much of a conversation. So, in that world, here's my piece of the conversation. I'd love to hear your stories. I am going to continue talking about this. I have a book that I'm writing, Holy Homo. That's going to be the book. It's going to be Holy Homo, tagline, breaking down walls of conversation. I want it to be breaking down walls of conversation between the LGBT community and the church. I don't know if that'll be it. But just to be able to get people to talk and be like, it's not horrifying. My life is not horrifying. Like, I like my life. It's difficult, and there's nuances, because there's nuances and difficulties in everyone's lives. But I really am appreciative of my life. I'm appreciative of my bisexuality. It has made me kinder to both sides. It has made me so much more, like, understanding. Less understanding of just straight people, for sure. But there's just such a wide community, and I'm thankful that we talk about it, and I just wanted to, share that. So thanks for coming along. If you watched all the way to here, that's crazy. I don't know when or what I'll post next, but that's what this channel is, so if you want that, that's what you'll get. Love ya! Oh, here's my electrolytes that are holding up the phone.